seen, this is a more mechanically intensive champion than the Sona. I think he played the Sona really well. He stuffed the dive with one of his stuns. Like, it looked good so far, but I'm excited to see him on something that requires a little bit more interaction through the laning phase.
And it'll be interesting to see if we are going to get more of a standard draft today. Yesterday, we really did see what people would expect out of LS, something a little bit different, double enchanter, lots of scaling. You know, the Gnar was maybe the one thing that people would say, that's not a pick that you would normally like, but it was playing weak side, and it's one of Summit's best champions, if not his best. So going to be really interested to kind of follow that. You know, was that something that they're just saying, hey, we can do this against Golden Guardians, or is that the kind of stuff that they want to bring out against the top teams in the league?
Yeah, and on the Summit point, his most plays last split in LCK were Gnar and Renekton, which are two things that, you know, LS calls sinners all the time. But in his AMA leading up to the season, people were like, are you going to pick sinner champions? And LS's kind of philosophy they shared was, there's an Olaf. His philosophy was, as long as I'm sinning less than my opponent, you know, like you can take, you know, Gnar's a little bit better late game than Renekton, so as long as it's less.
Yeah, just trying to let them know they're aware of what might go down here. But Cloud9, they get Blabber on his classic Olaf. They've got the Aphelios Thresh combination that we see picked together so often in the bottom lane. Response from EG. Roles will be matched. So Xin Zhao versus Olaf there in the jungle, and Jinx Leona for the bottom lane of Evil Genius.
I'm always such a fan of champion player combos that might not necessarily be the meta, but it's always in season for a player like Blabber to bring out the Olaf. Even when no one else is playing Olaf, he will catch Olaf bans against him because he has been so dominant over the last couple of years in the LCS with this pick. A large portion of him winning MVP was him running over teams day in, day out with the Olaf.
And it feels like, other than the Xin Zhao, the jungle pool is relatively open. We've seen Poppies, we've seen Trundles, we've seen J4s. Like, whatever your signature is in the jungle, it feels like people can kind of just go to.
And I like what we're seeing in the bans here, paying respect already to what we saw from Cloud9 yesterday. The fact that they're willing to play the Enchanters mid, do this type of style, even though they've already got the Thresh locked in.
They actually banned
Lulu
Ivern.
is banned away, Ivern is banned away. Two different champions that could play a supportive style mid lane to back up that Olaf. That's what EG is going to target.
So one thing I will say, you know, even if you're EG and you're thinking, okay, well, Ivern isn't actually that good, it still makes sense to ban picks that you have no practice against, right? If you think that C9 may do this, and you are not really comfortable playing against it. Now we're going to get Soraka.
Oh my god, this is the quintessential LS champion. He's put this thing in S tier and solo lanes every patch. You know, like, this is the champ.
I ran into LS behind the scenes before the games today. I said, hey man, I really liked what we got to see yesterday, spicing up the draft a little bit. I was like, I hope you got some more deviations in store for us. He said, oh yeah, I do. I was like, all right, I'm ready to see the cells. He's like, oh, there's no cells. So apparently, the Soraka was the play the entire time here. This is what they're going for. I'm excited to see how this works out because Tryndamere will be locked in along with Victor here for the side of EG.
Really interesting to see the Tryndamere come out to actually answer the Camille. You know, I'm assuming they're not going to get too crazy. I mean, JoJo has actually been the guy to play the Tryndamere, so theoretically it could be Victor top and Tryndamere, you know, being played, you know, by JoJo, but
yeah,
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I assume that's going to end up being Tryndamere top there.
It just feels like so not an impact champion, you know, because it's not a champion that is really adept at grouping. Even when he plays side lane champions like Gwen, it's side lane champions that can actually group in 5v5. Tryndamere can function in 5v5, but generally only with flash, and it's really not your strength.
And this is something, I want to go to a point that you and I were talking about behind the scenes yesterday. Because we were talking about how when you're playing these side laners that are carries, when you're playing these split pushers, Gwen was the example before, now we're looking at a Tryndamere, you've got to be able to play selfishly enough. We generally talk about selfish play in a negative light, but when you're playing a champion like this, you've got to be able to be selfish.
You need to get rich on a Tryndamere to have value. You are only the damage you're putting out. There's no utility from this champion whatsoever, so it's going to be a really interesting one. And Impact is not playing TP. It is Ghost Flash, solo queue style. This is really exciting. Damn, that was sexy. That was looking nice.
I love the light shows, and I love myself some exciting matchups in League of Legends.
I'll admit I turned around, looked into one of the lights, and kind of got blinded.
Why are you going to blind yourself?
Because it looked so cool. I turned around, one of the lights hit me right in the face.
Mark is the kid that stares at the eclipse and like licks the frozen pole and stuff.
That's
you know?
me. That's me. It's science, all right? I'm just
He is an experimenter.
Yeah.
He's learning. He's learning, my friend.
Speaking of science, this is a scientific draft by Cloud9 here, finally debuting the solo lane Soraka. When you look at the comp and how it's going to play, it's definitely there to support the side lane Camille, I think, as well as enabling kind of some aggressive play for the Olaf that you can keep kind of topping him up. Fulfilling a bit of an enchanter role, but less about enabling, whereas a lot of enchanters speed you up, provide extra CC, buff up your stats. Soraka is a lot about just healing over the top, as well as the global healing.
Yeah, and the healing can actually be really, really effective with Olaf. You know, if Olaf can get aggressive, can get in the face, you know, of the Xin, you can have that cross-map presence with your ultimate to really sway any of these duels. The same thing can be said up top lane. You know, if Summit is able to actually kite out the Tryndamere ultimate, you know, with the help of that Soraka ult, it'll be pretty interesting. But I'm excited to see how this mid lane matchup actually goes, because yesterday it was the Ivern into the Victor. I did think in that matchup it was going to be early levels. You could compete against the push that Victor has, but again, especially once you get that upgraded laser, it becomes very difficult for these enchanters to stay out from under their tower. That's where I'm really curious to see how he's going to be able to compete in the 1v1.
Yeah, see some aggressive trading in the bot lane. On that mid lane point, the Lux that he picked, it was into Jojo Pune. That matchup where, you know, Fudge got absolutely slammed in lock-in, it was the Lux into Victor, and he had a very tough time there. Doing a bit better with this matchup, but it is something that I'm sure he wants revenge on for how he kind of got styled on.
Well, back here in mid, Fudge, of course, does not have that lane control here nice and early. Not even an unupgraded laser is going to be outdone by a Soraka early on like that. So Jojo will get that shoved up. You can see both of your junglers heading towards the top side now, both doing that bottom side start. The important thing to note here, Blabber does have an extra camp up over Inspire.
And one of the most important things, you know, I've messed around a little bit with Soraka solo lane myself, is actually just how many Qs you hit. You've got to be hitting those Qs to stay topped up, because it is your wave clear, but it is also your sustain. You can't heal yourself with your W. You've got to land the Qs on the enemy champion to get that heal over time. And so far, Jojo has been nailing every laser, and Fudge has not been able to hit a single Q.
That's the big part. That what went wrong in the first time that he played that Lux was he got hit by pretty much everything that Jojo was throwing out. And it's happening a little bit again here, already shoved in. You expect to lose the wave early, but Inspired wants to play with that pressure.
Inspired going after Blabber here. Second part of the 3-talon strike going in. They find the knockup. Damage following through. The smite from Blabber to heal himself up, but it's still first blood over to Evil Geniuses. However, now we've got Summit coming in. Looking to clean these boys up. Inspired wants to get away, but an flash Xin Zhao might be able to turn things back around here with a smite. He's going for the 3-talon strike and knocks him right up into the air. Soraka rotates over, but what is Fudge to do? Jojo Pune Inspired, excuse me, still working for this one. His time here has expired, however, as it's time to leave. No smite left to secure the buff. He had to use it to stay alive, but nicely played to come out on top.
Very well done by Evil Geniuses, playing around their priority to collapse early on. And I just gotta say, the Soraka ambulance arrived a little too late. You could see the speed up that you get, the movement speed around a low health enemy, trying to get into the jungle to top up Summit, just not able to get there, but at least protected the blue buff.
Yeah, and one of the big things here is the wave. The wave is already pushed in at this tower, so when Camille is moving down to try to assist, you're walking away from all of those minions up in the top side. So yes, Summit does get down here. Blabber has the smite to heal late there. Impact is always going to go down, but the top lane CS is going to be pretty separated here. As this wave crashes top, Impact's going to pick up all this farm and start to extend an advantage, and that is one of the things that really hurts when you are roaming away from that pushing wave.
In mid lane, you saw Vulcan rotating over to mid, looking to make some sort of a collapse here. Fudge flashed before the Zenith Blade, but Vulcan missed on the follow-up, so they were not able to chase after the Cloud9 mid laner. Fudge escapes that one, but now as a half HP Soraka with no flash, he has to be very mindful about return visits.
And this is already such a great illustration of some of the debates that people get into philosophically when discussing early game versus late game. You know, we saw it yesterday a little bit in the Golden Guardians time where they got an early advantage against Cloud9. They were able to get a lead, but then once all the item power spikes started coming online, you start fighting 5v5s, this Enchanter-focused late game kind of comp outscales it.
Yep.
Here, it's a similar story early on. EG has made a lot of good plays, forcing the flash, you know, disinvade. Can they keep snowballing? And EG is usually so good at this, but it is very punishing because one mistake can flip the entire game.
The other thing that's really interesting is one of my answers that I always love when I'm playing against Enchanter comps, and to be fair, this is only one Enchanter. It is Thresh bot, you know, it's not Lulu, Soraka, whatever.
Right, yeah.
Is split push, and Tryndamere can do that because generally these types of comps, Soraka succeeds when she's going to be grouping later on. Summit will have the hook shot out, but a couple crits there does start to hurt. And if he has eyes on Inspired, you're not too worried, but if you haven't seen the jungler and the wave is stacking top, you do start to get a little bit nervous. But anyway, to go back to the point, you can avoid the 5v5 a little bit as the Tryndamere by just refusing to group, by running down sides, by drawing people to you, and trying to create a difficult situation for Cloud9.
And with this wave crashing into the top lane here against Summit, Impact isn't worried at all about walking past the turret, Summit getting a bit of free trade damage onto him there. It doesn't matter. The ability of Tryndamere to sustain, to heal back up, and to continue exerting this pressure is massive. Impact is 51 farm versus 26. Yes, there are quite a few minions here for Summit to pick up, but you absolutely do not want to be down this much against Tryndamere in the early game. And hey, props to EG for putting Summit in a spot where he had to lose so much to help his team.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see if Impact can carry this game. This was one of the things that Isaiah was saying, at the start. Like, this is not what you think of for
it's not his style.
Impact champion, but as we hit a pause here, this is something that he's been branching out more and more on EG than we had ever seen really in his career. Even going back to like some of the SKT days, the TIP days, like people relied on him to carry sometimes, but it wasn't like full on greedy style. And he's played Graves this year. He's played Gwen. He's playing Tryndamere now. And I think seeing that, what is it, 9 years into his career, he's still reinventing himself and picking up new champions.
Yep, and Vulcan does have a little bit of a mouse issue there on stage, so we will be waiting for that to be resolved. But I agree. I mean, I think this is the most outside of the Impact box that I would say, because even though he has diversified his champion pool, he's not just the tank guy, and he never really was that. I think that was kind of a mischaracterization. But everything else that you kind of mentioned, when he played Gnar, and when he would play Kennen, and when he would play Gwen, and when he plays
even
Graves,
like Morgana top and stuff.
Like he would do these things, but he would use them for side lane pressure to then come in 5v5 with an advantage. Tryndamere generally is not that. Maybe he'll still try to play it that way, but generally when you think of Tryndamere, Tryndamere wins games through sides, wins games through pushing and moving. It's about kind of more the skirmishes and less the 5v5, and almost every champion he plays generally ends up 5v5.
Especially when you consider the other pieces in the composition. You have a Victor, you have a Jinx. These champions are phenomenal at being able to just clear waves, hang back, stay safe, while Tryndamere applies his pressure and does what needs to be done.
And I think it's also, even if he wants a 5v5, very difficult to actually 5v5 as Tryndamere into champions like Thresh, who have the peel, who have that glacial slow, the box to really mix things up, makes it difficult to stick to your target.
Yeah, we see an all-in here.
Oh, okay.
All right. They're going to trade Ignite for Ghost here in the top lane. As soon as he sees that summoner dropped, Impact says, okay, good enough, I'll trade that. Backs off.
Yeah, and so we talk about the 4-1 for EG here. I think it's interesting if they actually want to use the Tryndamere to split, because you're talking about this kind of Thresh peel, and it is annoying for a Tryndamere by himself, but if you can force those skills out, there's really nothing else to peel for the side of C9. It's a straight shot onto the Soraka and the Aphelios if you can get around the box.
Oh, we're ready to go for a smite fight. It will go over the way of Cloud9, but what about the rest of the fight thereafter? Vulcan having to get away, Inspired shut down. Massive heals end up coming out from Fudge, and it keeps people alive. Double kill back over to Blabber. That is exactly what Soraka was picked for.
It's a repeat of yesterday. They bait the enemy team into coming around these objectives, the dragons, and the people cannot stay away. You take these 4v4s, the enchanters come in, and those low health targets get topped up.
I mean, the biggest issue for me is that it's so split. I mean, look at Danny. Danny's way behind the play here over on the side. They go in for what they think is a 2v2, but Berserker is much closer, and you have Danny way over here. The fight is already decided before the Jinx can really enter.
And even though Jojo Pune gets in there first, Fudge contributed with the ultimate from Soraka. You don't actually need to be first to play if you have the global. And then he shows up a little bit late, in air quotes, but is still able to get the heals onto Blabber, keep him topped up. And if there's one person who knows how to play the line, it's Blabber. He knows exactly how far he can push Olaf.
Man, oh man, Cloud9 and these early and mid-game dragon fights with enchanters, it seems to be a recipe for success, my friend.
Yeah, people have got to pay respect to it. Grouping is where these champions really, really shine. It was the downfall yesterday of Golden Guardians. In this 4v5 getting ace, this one is not nearly as bad for EG, and they are still slightly ahead, but that is a big deal, putting Blabber in a position that he can carry from. Also going to be interested to see who invests in early Grievous wounds and how quickly they bring it out. Because if you want to fight, if you want a 5v5, you absolutely must have Grievous wounds against Olaf plus Soraka.
I think you still have the option of starting to invest in impact a little bit more.
Yep.
You can look at that play and be like, okay, why have we not been on these stacked waves? There's been a couple times where impact has gotten pressure. The Rift Herald's up. I think you want to find an opportunity to get that without it becoming a 5v5, and then hopefully snowball his lane, because he's already got a nice CS advantage in the 1v1 for the most part. You can hopefully find a way to blow the game open through him if these 5v5s keep going bad.
And you can see Cloud9 continuing to play the neutral objective game here. It is Blabber starting up the Rift Herald. No, he doesn't have anybody else near him right now, but Berserker and Winsome have both rotated up from bottom lane. They'll continue shoving in the wave in mid. Fudge is nearby as well, ready to go. Does not quite have the cooldown up for Wish just yet. But considering nobody from Evil Geniuses is anywhere nearby to contest this, that's free Herald for Cloud9.
Still like C9, kind of doing a half roam. You show up mid lane to say, hey, we're moving for this. EG abandons it, and then you don't actually have to commit those resources. You do lose a couple waves, minions having to move back down, but it's not like you lost 3 waves like we sometimes see.
And they didn't even lose a plate, so not a big deal at all, but I kind of tend to agree with what you were talking about earlier, Mark. You know, especially because it is a flashless Camille, I do think there is the opportunity to actually pressure Summit here. We're seeing Impact constantly force out the hookshot defensively from Summit. You have Tryndamere ulti to actually set up these dives. If you can get the hookshot out, bring Inspired in, just tank up the tower with that Tryndamere ulti, Camille should not have a lot of options to escape from a situation like that.
And talking about escape options, an important mythic just now completed for Berserker in that Gale Force, so a little bit of extra escape opportunity for the Aphelios in these fights if Thresh is not able to peel for him like we were discussing earlier. Both of our junglers have those Gore Drinkers completed, but man, this really showcases how much quicker Olaf can farm than Xin Zhao. When you look at the farm numbers between these two, Blabber will just constantly be building that lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's just absolutely maximizing his farm and now looking for Jojo, who has no flash. You're dead.
Oh, Fudge with the flash to set it up. Jojo, I don't think there's any way out, buddy. The gravity well ain't gonna do much for you, and Blabber cuts him down.
I actually really like getting that gold on the Blabber as well. They're very smart about making sure that your frontline diver is able to get ahead, because Soraka's just there to throw buffs on top of him. Just make sure he's able to build damage.
Soraka's going to be able to afford Moon Zone. That's about all.
He's out full build.
Yeah. Well, Jojo also attacking that player without flash. That's a good punish, because that was a 30+ CS advantage that he had actually been at. Now, post 100 CS, he has the upgraded laser. Things can start to get really tough to hold on in that lane, so Fudge is going to need assistance. You don't want to leave that in isolation. And at the same time, they're just going to drop the Herald. That tower will be gone bot. Some more gold into the pockets of Berserker, as well as Blabber here, as long as they can finish it off.
Nope, not quite able to get there. The turret does not fall just yet because the Herald was summoned up immediately. Blabber's going underneath the turret.
God.
It looked like he was low, but Soraka said no! Fudge presses his heel, he presses his other heel, and Blabber just runs him over.
You can just feel that Jojo had no idea that he was in lethal range in that sense.
100% HP under your tower, lethal range.
Yeah, how do you know that? How many people have played against Olaf Soraka mid lane recently to know that this is a dangerous spot to be in?
Speaking of a dangerous spot to be in, Impact has found Summit, and man, that rage is undying. Impact picks up his first kill here.
Flexing his muscle in the top lane there. Impact getting the solo kill. That is big. It is the trade of full summoners. Of course, Summit going to come out slightly ahead because he just spends the Ignite for the flash and that Ghost. But that was prior to having Gale Force, and Impact was already up in gold before that. If you can pick up a couple plates here on the top side, go back, finish your full Mythic, that lane is going to start being very problematic for Cloud9.
They absolutely need him to do this too, because it feels like all the eggs are in the Impact basket now. Yep. The 4v4 has not gone well. Yes, you still scale well, but with how bad the mid lane's gone, 0-3 already, how far ahead the Olaf is, like it feels it's on Impact now to carry this game.
I agree, and it's actually a really good comp, though, for him to be able to do it with, because you have a lot of wave clear from the Jinx, from the Victor. That 4-man squad can play relatively defensively. The trick, though, is that Cloud9 has taken all the neutrals early.
Yeah.
So the third dragon is going to draw you to a team fight. Maybe they say, okay, we'll just give up the third dragon, but then you are always one mistake away from losing Soul, and very likely one mistake away from losing the game, which becomes very, very scary. But Impact, of course, did have a big buy. He gets the Gale Force. He has the Grievous Wounds, so that's going to be feeling really, really good. But I still just don't have a lot of confidence in their 5v5 at this point in the game.
And I like how Cloud9 makes sure they're always focusing on these Drakes nice and early when they're running these types of compositions. They're guaranteeing that they have that chance here in 4 minutes or so, 18 minutes into the game, to say, oh no, you have to fight us now, otherwise we're going to be on sole point for the rest of the game. You don't get that if you're waiting till 11 or 12 minutes to take the first dragon. C9 knows exactly what they should be playing around when they're playing these types of comps, and I'm looking forward to seeing how EG answers here when that spawns.
I think that's the big question now, because you're going to really have a tough time if you're just 4v4 standoff in the river against C9's comp. I think the best idea would actually be to find a pick right before it.
This in his face.
He's going to be able to do it.
No problem.
Yeah, I think EG, to slow this kind of dragon stacking, is not to contest the dragon outright, but find a pick hopefully a minute before so that you can just grab it with an advantage if you can find someone without Soraka nearby, because once you're grouped up, no one is really in burstable range.
Yeah, it becomes very, very difficult, and that's honestly why the earlier contest really hurt them, because I think if they don't make that mistake, and they are playing at this point in the game, coming up on dragon number 3 from a few thousand gold ahead, the game looks so wildly different. But because they gave a couple of those kills to Blabber, he gets ahead of the pace of the game. His farm is accelerated. He can pull off things like that dive onto JoJo mid. They can take that Herald bot. That's cracked for Berserker, who gets absolutely rich here as well.
And the important thing is, Impact is a large part of why this game is even. But he does not want to be 4v4. So if you just look at the 4 red members below Impact, they are substantially behind Berserker and Blabber, who will actually be there for the team fight. You know, even though gold lead is equal, where that gold is distributed in a game can really make a difference in how the fights go.
And Enchanters just kind of really nix what the gold means.
True.
Because Soraka with Moonstone is so much more powerful than a Victor with the same amount of gold. You know, it's
Without
just,
a mythic completed yet.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just one of those things that your items are so efficient. It's the same principle that we see with Janet Top and these types of champions. You don't need the same amount of gold to be just as effective. But now, focusing up towards that top side, Impact's going to roam, and they're going to try to punch Cloud9.
Evil Geniuses are not getting the fight they wanted. Berserker has already killed Danny, but Impact claims Fudge. He's now in the middle with Inspired, looking to help him here. His stomach goes right back in. Impact's able to stay alive. They burst down the enemy player there. And that's going to be both solo laners down, but traded away for jungler and AD carry. Vulcan, sure to not survive this one, you would think. Winsome keeps on chasing, brings Berserker back in here with a lantern, wants to give the money to the AD carry, and they got it 3 for 2. The fight favors Cloud9.
The story is this, though. JoJo pushing on that bottom side, so they are down in kills in that play, but they're going to be able to trade back a tower here. It's going to be a lot of gold for JoJo, plus multiple waves lost from Cloud9 to that tower. So all things considered, it stays relatively even.
Yeah, and the Trinity is going to be able to pick up that farm at the end. I like the idea from here, EG. You have Fudge in a bit of an awkward spot where he's pincered.
Danny got roasted.
Yeah, Danny blew up. He also got pinched around a little bit. But the fact that you killed the Soraka early in the fight means that like no one's going to be getting topped up. We talked about how it being a single enchanter comp this one time. If you blow up that one enchanter, you can probably win the fight. The Victor is not there, but after getting a couple of kills here, Impact actually picks up the mid wave, pushes that in, then rotates up and collects all that farm that Blabber just pushed in top lane. So we talk about the advantage accruing for Impact. It's going to get even bigger now. It has 3-1-1 and a massive CS lead, highest actually just behind the AD carries.
I mean, he's nearly 3,000 gold ahead of Summit at this point. He is monstrously strong. And with Berserker having no flash and Impact having his flash, this next fight at Dragon becomes much more winnable, because Tryndamere can actually function in 5v5 if you can E-flash onto the backline and really stick to them. You use your Gale Force to answer their Gale Force, and you really try to just burst down one of these backline carries. And given that Berserker doesn't have flash to answer, it's going to be a lot of Winsome to have those options to keep his carry safe with the Lantern.
Importantly, Berserker does have Bloodthirster completed, so he will have the extra sustain. He does have the extra shield to survive some of that burst at the start. But the work is cut out for him here. Let's see how Cloud9 are going to navigate this. Blabber's the first over to the Drake. He'll start that one up with Fudge right behind him. JoJo is top. Yes, he has teleport. Yes, it's unleashed, but it doesn't matter. They will not contest for third Drake. They're saying that this is more risk than it is reward. They will let that go. But now it will be up to them to contest in the future. Also worth noting, because it is Cloud Soul, it can influence that decision as well, put less value on it, say, all right, not worth losing for that.
Yeah, we were just talking before about, hold on, we might have another all-in here.
Okay.
Does land the hook shot. All right. Whew, it was a max range one, so I was like, if you whip that, you about to die.
Yeah, it's like,
I was going to say, though, given that we were just talking about how far behind the Victor was, JoJo didn't even have Mythic before just now, you know, it would be scary to fight there with such a weak Victor. I understand the idea being, let's get a little bit more gold on Victor, get him a little bit further into the game. We do actually scale decently well with Jinx Victor, and we'll take the fight next time. Maybe Olaf will drop off a little bit if we slow the pace of the game down. Those are probably some of the things that they're thinking about.
It makes a lot of sense, you know, from that point of view, but it's also always something that really makes me nervous, because now you're saying all of the dragon setups for the rest of the game have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You can never get picked, you can never lose vision, you can never mis-execute in the 5v5, or you will give soul. And yeah, people have lower value on Cloud Soul, but I actually think Cloud Soul on Olaf is one of the strongest champion soul combinations in the entire game. And this game for Cloud9 is largely about the Olaf, who's already mega fed. You're giving him essentially a free ghost on his ultimate plus his own ghost. Danny becomes irrelevant at that point. You will never escape from this guy who's just Usain Bolt running at you, hitting you over the head.
And he also has a lot more amplification of his own healing and the Soraka healing now. Spirit Visage completed as that second item. Danny is a one-item Jinx, not exactly a huge DPS threat at this point in time. Granted, JoJo is also behind, but if you're the Olaf, the only thing you're really worried about is if when you originally run in, resistance is reduced because of Ragnarok just getting blown up. Spirit Visage means that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I feel like part of this is just going to be letting Blabber do what he wants in these fights. You don't really have a way to stop an ulted Olaf anyways.
Yeah.
So I think for JoJo, for example, a lot of it will be dropping your damage on whoever Impact wants to kill, most likely the Soraka.
Yep.
And finding ways to make sure that if both backlines are dying, we do it faster. Because neither team has that many tools to keep people alive. I mean, you know, we talked about the Thresh.
Whoop, mid lane. It's going to be a turret claimed by Cloud9. They want to get that Herald charge off on the second turret, but they can't get there. Evil Genius has cleared that one away in time. Cloud9 still with a lead in the game, but it's not even 1,000 gold. They are still at soul point, just under 3 minutes until that next Drake spawns. 21 minutes into the game now. Baron is also alive, should any of these team fights find their way handedly either way.
Quick Blades now coming through here for Impact. That is a really big purchase for side lane play because it allows you to get the resets on your E. The mobility becomes really, really high as you're getting that additional CDR and you're getting that cooldown reduction on crits for your basic abilities. So Summit is going to have to be really careful. If you are too far out, Hookshot will no longer save you in a long lane. If you're by your tower, sure, but if you overextend, this guy can chase you down.
Yeah, I also like bringing in some healing cutting as well, both for side laning because the Soraka ult can come in over the top if you're trying to kill someone, and in team fights, making sure you're hitting the priority target.
Impact does find himself taking a chunk of damage there, but he's out, no problem.
I'm actually so surprised Summit didn't just ult him there. You know, with Blabber right behind him. I guess they didn't have vision. Yeah, if we look at the map, there's no vision in the river at all from C9. So I think that's the only reason. You have no idea if there's 4 or 5 behind Impact. And of course, in that case, it would have turned bad.
And some of C9 was on a reset. So if your Soraka's not in range to, you know, Wambulance in there and start healing you up, then you start having a little bit more issue.
Oh boy. Well, we got the slow.
Right.
E right on top of the hook shot. Summit tries to stay alive here. He's got the ulti coming in from Fudge to do it a little bit better. Impact keeps on going, and they've already found the enemy top laner. Blabber's gonna be killed. Impact cuts him down.
Blabber may be strong, but Impact is the king in this game. Double kill from the Trinmere. Mark, you said he had to carry, and he's looking like he can.
EG pulled Cloud9 apart. They were not grouped up for that, so they could actually take them down one at a time. Target Summit, then target Blabber, now target Baron.
And that Spirit Visage, as much as the solo healing, the increased self-healing helps, that is not going to save you from the Trinmere. Soraka was not there in position, and now they're on the Baron here. Pressure on Cloud9 to try to make something happen. It's all about Berserker. He's the only carry alive.
He's the only one with any damage. The other two are support.
Oh, no.
And they're both stuck inside the box. How's it gonna be? Winsome tries to peel for everybody, but it will not matter. That box doesn't do enough. Fudge is already down, but Summit's able to return into the fight and take out Vulcan. JoJo has no flash. I'll see you later, buddy. Nothing left to him. So Cloud9, they will get a 2-for-1 in the fight afterwards, but it is Baron over to Evil Genius.
Yeah, they get the Baron, but the problem is JoJo's respawn is not going to be up for Soul, so I think it actually ends up going bad for EG. Yes, they do get that Baron, but because they lose members doing it, you won't be able to prevent the Soul, that permanent buff, so it's putting even more pressure on Impact to really just 1v9 this game with his advantage.
Yeah, God. It's almost net even after everything that seemed to be going well for EG. You still have the Baron after, and Impact does have it. So once this resolves around the Soul point. I wonder if EG can continue to grab some side lane turrets. They still don't have the mid lane one down, which speaks to how hard it is for their 4v4.
I mean, they have 2 minutes here of power with the Baron, right? But the Soul is permanent, and that is going to be massive power for Blabber. And not only for Blabber, but even for champions like, you traditionally don't think Camille gets a lot of value out of it, but the flat move speed is so powerful on a lot of these champions. And Tryndamere requires to stay faster, essentially, than your opponent. It's very difficult to actually chase these guys down with 10% additional flat move speed. So it's going to be a tough one now for EG. Maybe eyes got a little bit too big there, and unfortunately, they couldn't get out after they take the Baron.
Well, these next minute and a half, this has got to be something here for the side of Evil Geniuses. But the map's not really set up for them to do a whole lot with it. There is one tier 1 turret still standing. It's here in the mid lane, and Berserker, Fudge, and Blabber are all positioned defensively to stop EG from getting a lot done very quickly. We'll see if they can turn it into a whole lot. It's Danny, Vulcan, and Inspired here. Impact is looking to set himself back up in bottom while Jojo farms up top. Jojo is still playing catch-up this game. Summit gets away over the wall. Impact can't kill him again there. But again, the wave is not anywhere. There's not a lot for him to push.
And that may look silly, but Impact was actually trying to Gale Force past Summit to interrupt his hookshot. Because if you can get in between him and the wall, you could stop that hookshot from going off there. And actually then, Summit has no way out without the flash. Another thing we haven't really touched on this game, because there's been so much going on, is the fact that Cloud9's comp is essentially pure physical damage. And that is why we're starting to see some armor stacking coming in here. The Tryndamere, not a champion that you really associate with a lot of defensive items, actually went full Randuin's. We see a full Randuin's on Inspired. He's going to be going probably into a Thornmail next. And that armor buy is going to become so incredibly efficient when all of the damage is Aphelios, it's Olaf, and it is Camille.
What's so interesting about this too is the question is time to kill. Is the armor allowing you to kill people through Soraka healing, or are you just gimping your damage and now you can't kill through the Soraka healing? It's actually such an interesting problem that you'd have to really do some math on and be like, well, is this even worth it technically?
One thing I will say that sometimes isn't thought about much as armor on split pushers is it allows you to pull off tower dives a lot more effectively because you're taking so much reduced damage from the towers as well. You know, so that can be pretty powerful. And in a potential 1v2, it's going to be super efficient against Blabber and Summit.
And a little bit of a slow to tack on as well. If you're chasing someone down in an extended sequence, it is something, when you're talking about this cloud buff that they're going to have for the rest of the game, can aid you in that situation as well.
Now, I'm very also interested in the fact that we have 2.5 minutes on the Baron here, 3.5 minutes on the Elder Drake.
He needs to stay between him and the wall.
Soon, Summit tries to get away there. He gets himself out a little bit, but they've still got way too much manpower down here. They don't even bother using the Soraka ult from Cloud9. They know there is no way out for Summit, and Impact continues his operations here in the side.
I'm actually so impressed by how Impact is playing this game and this matchup, really understanding that against a flashless Camille, it's all about blocking the hookshot. That's why he's popping the Ghost early. That's why he's using the Gale Force early. It's not for the damage, it's for the reposition to stay in between Summit and the wall and deny any distance for the hookshot.
And for the rest of EG as well, to get in position to aid Impact in these situations, these little windows where there's no important objective, finding a path down there, because it would still be hard for him if he had to do an extended chase down sequence, but the extra CC that came in from Inspired and Vulcan made it a very quick kill. It forces Olaf to actually answer a lot of these. You see Soraka falling very far behind in farm because Olaf is actually the one collecting a lot of these side waves when Victor pushes, for example. They want to keep the Soraka middle of the map at all times.
And one of the problems is, if Olaf has to answer a side lane, well, guess what? The rest of your squad without him is very, very weak. You're not going to be wanting to take these 3-man fights, these 4-man fights, without the Olaf around. So it's becoming a very interesting game here. And Impact has bought a lot of time for Jojo to actually complete a couple items. He has the Shadow Flame through now, so a lot of heavy spell pen in this build. You can also see Danny on 3 full items as well with the LDR through. So EG's other carries are becoming a true threat.
We have under 1 minute until we get the Baron now, and that's only going to be a short window of about a minute itself until both super buffs are alive on the map. That always creates an interesting push and pull between those different locations. Are you going to trade those back and forth? Is somebody going to commit to one or the other? These are the types of situations where teams can really just make or break the entire game in a single call if you do it wrong.
I think this is so interesting as well, given that Olaf is a champion that typically falls off. It's one of the reasons he's on the center list. But now you've kind of all-in on him. Yes, Berserker is fairly strong at 3 items, but in terms of backline threat, it still feels like it's on Blabber, given the fact that the Camille never really got off the ground.
Well, he's trying to get away from Tryndamere now. Impact keeps on the chase. He already used the spin. Even with Navori Quick Blades, he can't just spin back to back like that, so he can't chase him over the wall. The rest of the team's there anyway. Cloud9 has control over the EG bot side jungle as the Baron spawns, EG defending their tier 2 turrets.
It's all about the side push, though. They're trying to shove out these waves as much as possible. As soon as Cloud9 showed on this wave bot side, immediately JoJo cancels his recall. He pushes out another wave because they are trying to force Cloud9 to not function as a squad. They want them pulled to the side lanes. They want them split up, trying to answer fights in different areas and buying more and more time for EG to scale up and scale up and scale up. Because if this game goes to 5-6 items, all of a sudden Olaf pops ult and he runs in real fast, but he runs in real fast and gets one shot by the Victor and the Jinx.
Yup, straight to his own death. That Jinx is on 3 items. LDR, Kraken Slayer, Phantom Dancer. No Infinity Edge yet for either one of the AD carries. They both are going to have meaty targets they have to kill first, so the LDR has that very high value. When you're looking at Blabber, he's got Sterix. Blabber still has no armor. When you look at the threats on the enemy team, there is 1 AP threat, 3 AD threats. More like 2.5 since Zinjal's mostly just
Elder
tank.
time.
But man, we'll see how well he's able to sustain here in these fights. Evil Geniuses and Cloud9 ready to square off around the Elder Drake pit. Cloud9 with control over the area here at the start, shoving up the waves, clearing out the vision. EG will have to find a way to contest here. They do not want to give this buff away to C9, who are already starting it up.
Yeah, they're just brute forcing it. Impact couldn't even shove out the bot wave. He needs to group the rest of his team here.
With Drake already below half, Impact getting jumped on by Summit. Cloud9 backing off, but still keeping the Drake aggroed. Inspired has made his way into the pit now. The ulti coming out from the Aphelios. Now they're ready to go. Blabber's in the middle of everybody. Blabber's going to be shielded and healed and brought right back to full HP. Impact in the Undying Rage, but he will not get away. Shut down for Berserker. And Cloud9, having killed the most valuable member of the enemy team, are poised to take the Drake. Inspired is still alive. Possibility of a smite fight is still there. Cloud9 with control over the pit. 2,000 HP left of the Drake. Inspired goes in. He got it! Inspired steals the Elder Drake.
But can EG get out? They've got to try to run here, try to survive, keep some of those buffs alive. The TP coming through from JoJo, he will escape. Danny, though, they're on the chase.
Vulcan gets caught out by the axe. He tries to flash away. He'll get away from the follow-up there. Wants to take Blast Cone over the wall. It gets Vulcan out.
That was game-saving potentially there from Inspired, but Cloud9 still going to go to the Baron here, still going to claim one of those super buffs.
Yeah, he sacrificed himself to save the Elder, but gives up Baron in the process. And Cloud9 played that fight perfectly.
Yeah.
The one advantage that we hadn't really talked about diving backlines is if Cloud9 fails, it's actually okay. You can just reset the fight. You blow all your healing, you get everyone topped up to full. When Impact fails a dive and can't assassinate the backline, he's useless the rest of the fight. There's no more ultimate. So watch this. Both people go in at the exact same time. Blabber's gonna nearly die, get absolutely chunked out. Impact's gonna get peeled. Blabber's gonna turn around to focus on getting Impact out of the fight. And after this point, look at the health bars. They're so different.
Yep, and in the Rocket Rip, the Swiss replay, we can see just that. It's so difficult for Impact to actually close that gap, and that's what I was talking about team fighting into a Thresh. Yes, the Thresh is the only peel, but Glacial Augment slows you down so much. The box slows you down so much. Flay, Lantern, Hook are all so disruptive that Impact had an enormous amount of gold, but got almost zero value from it in that fight.
And to be fair, Blabber was forcing the rest of EG's backline from being able to really help Impact in the assassination. It's both doing 4-1 opportunities, but Blabber doesn't actually need to kill anyone in his 1v4. He just needs to be like, hey guys, look at me, drop all your damage and just don't kill me. And as long as he doesn't die, he's done his job. Whereas Impact needs to kill someone.
It's so interesting because in this situation, I actually think against a Thresh, you cannot dive backline solo.
Yeah.
So as weird as it sounds, I almost feel like Impact should play front to back with his team. Like, if you don't have the perfect angle onto a Jinx or someone, you just need to be there and hit the Olaf too, because you actually have an upgraded heal cut, and if you can get some more damage in there, potentially burst down the Olaf, that could be fight-changing, because he's not going to solo out Berserker, who has Winsome by him, who has Fudge by him.
I was thinking almost the opposite as well. I was like,
or just split push and never group.
Well, I was gonna say JoJo can also just like, try to ignore the Olaf if he's going on to Danny. Like,
so hard.
It's hard to ignore, but if
die.
You flash alt QE, and if you die, you die. But hopefully you take someone with you. I don't know. This is what makes this game so interesting right now.
This is sounding like some YOLO plays to me, but sometimes that's what it comes down to. 12-9. Advantage for Cloud9. They still have the Baron here for another minute.
So this is the trick from Perks' Suite. Don't give Blabber an Olaf angle. Everything is an Olaf angle for Blabber.
He's a 360-degree champion.
Alrighty, Cloud9 using the teleport to bring Fudge back here in mid. The push
game,
continues, pressuring towards the tier 2s. Now, I'm not sure what the assist me ping on the inhibitor means. That's probably just memes. Anyway, Evil Geniuses will continue their defense. 30 more seconds here on the Baron buff. So Cloud9 haven't got a lot of success out of this one here yet. Blabber is waiting right there in the brush. He'll find Vulcan, but now he'll take a lot of damage. Well, honestly, not even that much. A couple of spells, but they didn't seem to hurt too badly. Mid lane tier 2 will fall there as they were able to distract Evil Geniuses long enough to get that wave in, crash that, and grab the money they needed. With the Baron about to expire, Cloud9 have a 2,500 gold lead. They still have that soul. And my friends, we get to do this all again in a couple of minutes. 2.5 minutes till Elder Spawn.
Yeah, we're going to get another crazy fight. You can just see how hard it is for both teams to kind of push against the other.
Yeah.
There's so much wave clear on EG's side. You talk about Blabber running distraction again. Hey guys, look at, like, that's his whole job at this point in this game. It's like, look at me, hit me. And then when they do that, they are able to grab those 2 inner turrets. Blabber, I feel like, understands his role in this game now. It is to be as annoying as possible. It's not to be a late game hyper carry.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, man, because Berserker is now full build, and he's the real problem here, I think, as far as the damage dealer at this point in the game. Olaf's time is kind of over as that big carry threat, but Berserker's is just beginning. You know, he's on 100% crit now. He's a full item up on Danny, who admittedly did just complete the IE, so he just had a big spike there too. If JoJo can get to death cap and Danny can finish the build, they start to really get another shot in this game, but Cloud9 has been pushing it, and really it was just that Elder steal that kind of, I think, prevented Cloud9 from ending the game.
Guardian Angel purchased just now for Blabber as well, meaning even if he does go in, even if they can manage to get through all that shielding and healing, he's going to come back to life, and you know Fudge is going to have more heals ready to go for him.
It's
very
such
tough to
a huge item. I'm surprised he delayed it all the way till 4th item, because if you do get popped in one of those times that you run in and you kind of mismanage your healing.
Double GA even.
Yeah, now it just allows you to get back up, and it's really scary for EG to just run over the corpse of Olaf and like pretend that he's not going to come back up in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So
right.
You kind of have to respect the zoning power it gives you, which allows you to continue focus on peeling on impact if he dives in.
And now it's just about buying time here on this top side, but they're looking to potentially threaten the dive. They're trying to zone the back. Impact has group, though. He's here.
Berserker's ultimate already whipped, but the tier 3 turret is already dead. Blabber and the rest of Cloud9 will get away, having claimed the objective. Baron up in 1 minute and 15. Elder up in 40 seconds. And Cloud9 are looking to reset and get in position for these.
Man, this is such a crazy game at this point, because even Summit, yes, he is still down a little bit, but he is not down a lot. Impact actually sold the stopwatch, went for a more aggressive build, so he went Cyrilda's Grudge. He was sitting on stopwatch. I thought he was going to go for a GA off of that. Instead, he's going for a little bit of armor pen himself. There is obviously some armor being purchased up, you know, with the tabbies, with the GA. There's a chain vest in that, but this is going to give him more CDR. It's going to give him higher damage. So I think he's really kind of looking at it through the point of view of, like, I basically have to insta-kill someone, and that is my job. And maybe he really is actually going to hit Blabber.
I mean, it does help as well with slowing if you want to apply the Cyrilda's Grudge onto someone in a chase down.
Random's slow, Cyrilda's slow.
Well, here we go. 25 seconds on Baron, but the Elder's alive. Summit is back in the enemy base. He will be answered by JoJo, but JoJo can't just walk up to the Camille like this. Danny getting away. EG in retreat as Cloud9 still have control in the 4v4 and in the 1v1. Summit claims that top lane inhibitor. Evil Genius is split up. Cloud9 still grouped as 4. Blabber walks over those chompers. He's popped the ghost. He's ready to go. They throw out the lantern. They pull him right back. He doesn't even have to use Ragnarok. Still has that ulti ready to go. Yes, Ghost was spent, but that doesn't matter as much. JoJo's still clearing out the waves back in the base. Summit is backing. He has unleashed teleport. He is ready to go and join this fight if he needs to. Tries to jump in on JoJo. Uses the ignite. Trades it away for JoJo's flash. Back here in the river, Impact is ready to make some sort of a move. There goes there too. It's time to go. Winsome's going to be your target here at the start, but the Soraka heals come down. Berserker goes back over the wall. DPS is ready to fire. Fudge is down. Winsome is down. Blabber's going to be tanking up and doing whatever the man can, but the man can't do nothing. Summit's going to be taken low. Berserker is dominating. Berserker is coming back to life. And Berserker will cut them down.
That's it. Berserker mops up EG. At about 100 Junkers stacked up there, and he erases them in what was an incredible fight.
Welcome to the LCS. Berserker, absolute superstar performance there to save a fight that looked like EG were going to be able to run away with it after they initially killed Fudge.
Nicely done from Cloud9. Beautifully played from this new AD carry. And C9 are going to end their first week of the regular season here with no losses. They'll take down EG.
What an exciting start to the season here for Cloud9. Enchanters mid back-to-back games playing their own style. EG really making him work for it, though, and I've got to say, Impact played an incredible game. I was being a little bit of a doubter, saying this is a bit of a different style champion for him, but he had an incredible game on the Tryndamere.
Yeah, EG played well, but the Church of LS cannot be denied. There's new converts coming in, new disciples, welcome everyone, the doors are open.
So what I'm starting to take away from these games is when you're up against these mid lane enchanter compositions, you must double check and triple check whether or not you want to fight for these early dragons.
Yeah.
Because when you give them a situation where they now have these dragons and even footing in terms of gold, they know how to play the game.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where you have to be certain that you will kill someone instantly in a fight. Enchanters get so much value in the extended fights. When you're getting multiple rounds of shields, multiple rounds of healing out, they really start to outweigh their counterparts. And, we saw that across multiple fights, even in this final fight. Yes, Fudge did get actually burst down. It was a pretty nice setup on the flank, from EG, and I'm sure the analyst desk will cover that final fight, in a little bit. But the multi-angle attack there was really well done, and knocking down Fudge makes you think they could actually win, but they spent so much time then trying to take out Olaf, and we're actually going to get to see it one more time.
Yeah, I love the double flank by Inspired and Impact, understanding, hey, we got to get on top of Fudge, and they do it. But Berserker flashed over the wall. He's totally safe now and still in range. Inspired does have his ult on, so he's not actually taking damage quite yet. But then he lands that ult from range.
Good shield on Blabber.
A million chakrams while they're trying to deal with Blabber. They get him down, but this is where the GA comes up big. Now they're focusing down Summit. He also has a fat shield, which allows Berserker to come in after stacking the chakrams off the wave and just 2-hit Jojo.
It's something I didn't actually catch in the initial play. The ulti there, the knockback from Summit, he ulted beside Jojo and actually knocked Jojo directly into range of Berserker, and he just got absolutely two-shot. It's just ridiculous when you have that many chakrams stacked up. It's just one auto, and you just do all of them.
It's the highlight
out.
reel for Aphelios. 200 chakrams at once. You just cut down anybody that's
One
in your
for every
way.
year.
Yeah, you just watch the entire 2 centuries of DPS happening all in front of our very eyes as they're able to turn and burn. And it looked very dire there for a moment as Berserker's just back in mid lane. It almost looks like, okay, they're saying the fight's probably done. Make sure you shove out the wave or whatever, get whatever you can. But no, he's just buying time to make that re-entry with all that damage. Awesome to see. With their prayers answered, Cloud9 take another win.